people about it.
Mm-hmm. Hello everybody, this is Borbala Banto CPA from Concierge CPAs. Welcome to our weekly Facebook Live. Today is Friday, March 1st, 2019. I can't believe 2 months is gone and we are already in the spring. As you know, it's tax season, so we are really busy. Actually, we did not have a call last Friday because we were at an event. We were exhibitors and sponsors of an event at the Greater Cleveland Chinese Chamber of Commerce. It was like an annual event. We had fun. The whole company was there. The event was held at a winery. And so we had fun. We had about 200 people. And so that's why we couldn't have a Facebook Live last week. Next Friday, I think we are on. This is just like a community call, something that we do to answer questions that come in that we think a lot of people are interested in, not just the person who asked them. So if you have any questions, put them in the comment section, or you can email it to me. I believe you will have the email address on the bottom of the screen. So,
Tim Anderson just joined.
hi Tim. Tim is a great client, and we've known each other for a long time. So welcome. This and I did mention on our last call. I mentioned to Tim that during or after each of these Facebook Lives, somebody reached out. At least one person reached out and wanted to become a client. So and I suggested that he will do something like this as well. So it's very organic, very simple. I have a good number of questions. So if you have any questions, if you want to email them to me, then that's fine. What else is going on? This is a once-in-a-generation tax season. Really it is. There are just so many crazy things still happening this tax season. For example, there is just one law, partial law, that we would like to apply, and the law doesn't even exist yet. So to be more specific, and it's crazy and it affects a couple of our clients, is if you invest, for example, I can just think about one client who started a business last year, got an office, and all the build out, all the contractor payments added up to about $100,000. So we have to capitalize that. Usually, that's something that we have to depreciate. And there used to be a asset category called leasehold improvement 15-year asset category. That category in the law expired at the end of 17. Now, when Congress was working on the new law, they were fully intending to extend it. There are letters from both sides saying we want to extend this 15-year leasehold improvement depreciation with the bonus depreciation, which means just pretty much what it means is that you can deduct it the year that you spend it. They wanted to extend it. And what happened? They forgot to put it in the law. So it's not in the law. Now, President signed it at the end of 17. A couple of weeks later, they realized that it's not in the law. Then there was this letter saying, we are going to issue a correction letter because everybody intended it to be in the law. So, but we have to issue this technical correction letter. So that was last year this time. And then what happened? Nothing. All summer, nothing. Then the elections came. Then the new Congress in the beginning of the year. So we still do not have that technical correction. So why is this interesting? We prepare these tax returns for these clients who had something like this. Either they can depreciate, basically deduct the whole $100,000 in 18 if the technical correction comes in and it's issued before we file the tax return, or if not, the only thing we can do is use the 39-year just regular straight line depreciation, meaning the $100,000 is divided by 39 and you can only deduct 1/39 every year. Most likely these clients are not going to be in these buildings by the time in 39 years. So they're asking for the tax returns. Everybody's eager to know, and these are business tax returns, so whatever we do, it's going to affect their personal, so they cannot file the personal either. I keep telling them, I'm so sorry, either we wait, all the CPA chat rooms, everybody's talking about it, everybody's waiting, silence. silence from, from above. So tax software actually does list the 15-year leasehold improvement category with a note saying just make sure that you do wait for the technical correction to come out. If you see it, then you can start using it. Yes. So all these clients are just waiting in suspense, and we don't know if they're going to be able to deduct $100,000 or they're going to be able to deduct like $800. So it is crazy. It's a crazy tax season. I pretty much did not have good news to anybody who prepared personal taxes for. We're done with a couple of dozen, and either I had to tell them they owe like $25,000 more or $10,000 more. And another caveat, so last year in February, all the withholding tables were updated by the IRS, right? So people started seeing higher net paychecks, which now we are seeing on the W-2s that it resulted in a good couple of $1,000s less withholding. Everybody already forgot about all that extra little income that they got during last year. I guess that was the intention of the law, just for people to boost the economy and spend it during the year versus, at tax time with the refunds. The problem is a lot of people got raises, the economy got better, so had a little more higher income, couple of $1,000s less withholding. So now we're doing the tax returns and they owe money. And they're not happy, about it. The best, quote, the best I've seen is where we somehow got to where we were last year. So the people either get the same refund or like they do not owe at least. And how the withholding tables are so crazy is, for example, we have a client, a sweet young lady, works at Google in San Francisco. So she claimed single one on her paychecks, right? Single one, no house, no nothing, no dependents. So whatever is taken out during the year should cover the taxes, right? So one person in the family, single, that's how she filed. Guess what? Her W-2 was $10,000 short in income tax withholding to the IRS than what it should have been. So I had to tell her for this year she should change it to single zero maybe, and also just add additional amounts because she was short like almost $1,000 a month. So they were really not good news. Now the only good news is by the time, for example, we prepared this tax return for the Google employee, she already talked to friends of hers and colleagues of hers, and everybody got kind of the same results. So people were talking about it. So it was not really that big of a surprise. That was like the only quote, good thing about it. Other than that, we have 6 weeks till the end of tax season. I think people or the clients who are going to bring in their stuff after March 15th, there's no way we're going to get to them. So if you are one of our clients, just make sure that you get your information to us or make your appointments before March 15th. It's taking us twice as long to finish stuff. So if you're not one of our clients, you better just start working at it. Really, it's not a good time to get new accountants. I'm still surprised that there are people who are just calling us up like, do you still accept new clients? Other than referrals from like some fabulous, beautiful clients, I really don't think like any good CPA accepts new clients at this time. It just takes time, to look into last year's, and that's why our what we call membership year starts like September and then ends at the end of August, because we just want time to sit down, and that's not tax season, right? It's just we want those appointments where we sit down, look at everything, pretty much mastermind about the tax year, do projections, so you won't have any surprises. The worst that can happen is client comes to me and now I just have to tell her you owe $25,000 that she did not know about. There is no reason, for that. So if you're thinking about changing CPAs, and actually I did have a call from somebody who said, like, I don't know if I should go back to my CPA or not. He's just really far. Otherwise, he was okay. Not that good, but he was okay. And I had to tell her, like, if you're thinking about changing CPAs, you should do something about it in September. So maybe just go back this year and and then change CPAs next year, because that's when we can still do something about, right? We have time to mastermind, we have time to think about all the different deductions that you are eligible for, talk about it as the issues come up. Because right now it's just waiting for the forms and prepare the tax return. Now even that, preparing the tax return, it seems like just simple. You put the right numbers in the right boxes. Oh my goodness. So I guess every profession has these like inside things where they know how, like, they see a lot of the same issues. We've seen some crazy tax returns from people who, like, in the beginning of the year, they were like new clients and came in. Even professional preparers, it was just like huge mistakes, like really, if you looked at it, you could have seen it. Now I'm really surprised that the IRS, in most cases, I mean, thankful for the clients, they did not come back. But most of the issues, really most of the mistakes, are made by the tax preparer, are made not for the clients. So they are just missing money. They're leaving money on the table. Like this one I can think of, he should have gotten like a couple of $1,000s more back, but the preparer just didn't put in a number where it was supposed to. So it is a shame. It is a shame. So that's why, if you don't have like a tax advisor, don't have somebody who really not just like, here's my forms and then bye, I'm gonna pick them up and sign, that's not what you want. If you have more than just a W-2, if you just have a W-2, it's fine. If you have more stuff, a business, 1099s, royalties, anything that's going on, getting married, getting divorced, have kids, moved from state to state, then do yourself a favor and find somebody who can really, is like your advocate and your advisors in these things. So that being said, let's answer a couple of questions. And this is a perennial question that came in. I saw this lady a couple of weeks ago, and she said, wanted to take a moment to thank you for your time and insights last week. I found our meeting really informative. I had fun too. I'm back from the business boot camp, and I'm excited to move forward with my concept. My next step is to incorporate the business, and I can't remember if you handle such documents. And I said, we can help you with that, especially like everybody can do like LLC on the Secretary of State website. They should not, but they could. But the next step is to go to the IRS and request an EIN, employer identification number. I've seen attorneys, I've seen financial advisors making mistakes when requesting the EIN that resulted in, like in one case $2,400, other cases $1,800 penalty 6 months down the road. So again, it could be that so everybody can do it by themselves, but they're asking you a good number of questions that if you don't know why they're asking and how to respond to them, yeah, you're not gonna get out of some penalties. So when I responded to her, she said, based on what we talked about, would this be filed as an LLC with an S-Corp designation? That's how my husband is currently set up, and it seems to make the most sense. So we're talking about different entities. So LLC or corporation is with the Secretary of State, right? That's your state where you are. The EIN number is requested from the IRS. And then the S designation, that's a totally separate thing. Totally separate, is with the IRS, but doesn't have to do anything with the LLC or the corporation that you form with the Secretary of State. It's just a tax designation. So my suggestion to this lady was, please, first, you should know if it's in your benefit to elect S-Corp or not. You do have 75 days from the formation of the company or from a starting of a new year. So March 15th is just coming up in 2 weeks. Actually, we have a couple of them in the pipeline that we're working on. So question is, let's say this lady starts her business in the fall, all the build out, all the starting the business, and most likely he's going to end up with a loss at the end of the 2019 tax return. It's not her benefit to elect S-Corp. With the S-Corp, you really need to have reasonable wages, I don't know if she is gonna be so what I'm looking for, just up to date with all the knowledge and everything. Like, is she gonna have the time and the energy to look into all the tax planning? She should, and this is the time before you get busy. But I'm thinking she's gonna be so busy with starting the business, especially if this business is gonna start at the end of the year, because I really, based on my experience, I would not recommend electing S Corp. Now, the biggest reason, what I told her is, you should really know why you want to elect S Corp. How much does it save for you in taxes, like dollar wise, and also what is the net benefit, because everything in tax planning comes with something, right? And a lot of our clients who are S Corps, they know that we just put in so much energy into doing all these projections quarterly and looking at the business bookkeeping. You cannot really do an S Corp well if you don't not have current, updated, clean accounting, right? So we need to have some good financials and just look at the year-to-date, bottom line profit, and then you look at how much reasonable wage should be. Either you're gonna make a mistake in favor of the IRS, meaning you're not saving as much as you could have, or you're gonna make such a big mistake in your favor, you're gonna pay less tax, but it's a red flag on the IRS side, and you don't want that either. So it's a really good balance, and a lot of people who had S Corp elected years ago, and they just go, like, I can think of this. We had a law firm, young lady coming to us a couple of months ago, and she said, so here's the thing, I have $120,000 profit, and my accountant told me to get a $10,000 W-2 every year. I said, oh, no. No, I don't think $10,000 is a reasonable wage for an attorney, 5 years out of law school IQ. So you could really put yourself out there to a lot of liability, a lot of risk, if you don't know what you're doing. So I really would not recommend anybody doing S Corp by themselves. And they're going to come back and just categorize all kinds of wages and penalties and stuff. It's just a mess. You don't want that. So that would be my option, like my suggestion. Like, you really have to know why you're doing something in tax planning, and not just like, I heard because my husband is an S Corp. Like, maybe it's not the best thing for you, or it's not the best thing for this year, right? Or for this particular stage of your company. Now, again, if I'm your tax advisor, tax planner, then I should be able to tell you with graphs, very simple, like totally simple language with numbers, how much this strategy will save you and what is gonna cost you to implement it. I talked to another attorney yesterday, and I told her you could save, after all the extra expenses, you would save in 2019 $5,200 net, for sure, at least. More, maybe more, but at least. And she said, Borbala, it's not worth for me to set up payroll, because otherwise I don't need it, and to tax returns. It's just not worth for me. I really don't think $5,000 is gonna, cut it for me. Versus, I could talk to another client, like $5,000. Oh my goodness, I can take my family on vacation on that. So it's really, you have to understand, not just like heard everybody's doing it. You just have to understand what's going on. Okay, another question. So this client is writing a book, and the publisher says you have to fill out a W-9, right? So W-9 and the bank authorization, so they send her the royalties. Do I fill out as me, the person, with my social security number and a personal bank account, or my business with my business EIN and the business bank account? I consider all this business income, but I am the author, not the company, so it's confusing. I asked the publisher, and they said whichever I prefer. So the answer to this question was, and she had another advisor who told her, just do it on your personal, and then the personal name and social, and the accountants know what to do with it. And pretty much I was laughing. I said, that's exactly how I would have answered this, and that's my answer as well. There is a tax advantage to being an author, either under the new guidelines, the new laws. If you have royalties, but you have to go on a book tour And we had some clients a couple of years ago like that. I mean, she went around and around on her own money, flew to that book signing, a hotel, food, right, extra expenses. So all those can be listed against the royalties. So I can think of a client of ours got like $55,000-$60,000 royalties a year. That's not bad. But then she had all these expenses, and also even before. Now that's a good question. Before the book comes out, while she's still writing the book, she might have expenses like research expenses. I represented this gentleman in front of the IRS once, and he was a university professor who was going around the world to interview like business people or like some type of individuals for the book, and he had all these expenses and zero income still. And I mean, he was audited for something else as well, but we had to present our documents and receipts and everything, and of course he didn't have them. So IRS wanted, I think I wanted $45,000 from him for 2 years, and then I worked on it 3 weeks. We ended up settling for $1,200. So at least to say he was happy. So my advice is fill out the W-9 as the author, as yourself. Put the royalties, have the royalties channeled into a separate bank account so you know how much money is coming in. Of course, you're going to get a 1099 at your end, but again, we are doing all these projections during the year, so we want to know exactly how much royalties year to date there are, and spend on any expenses against this book venture from that bank account. So that's what my suggestion would be. Okay, this is just a funny note. A client of mine was asking for some spreadsheets, and we sent it to them, and it says, "Thank you, Borbal. Please tell me you weren't really working at this at 2 o'clock in the morning." I was laughing when I read this because this has been like for Laz and I, and basically everybody in the company is working really late, but I think we went to bed like 4 o'clock-ish the last 3 nights. So I think we are due to a good night's sleep sometimes over the weekend. So that was funny. But if you do have an accountant, somebody that that you use, be really nice to them this time of year. I got 2 calls this week where people wanted to have me prepare 2017 tax returns because they are behind. So one actually made an appointment and came in because this has been on her, weighing on her, and pretty much freezing her from like going forward and have her business flourish. This thing of, I don't know how much I'm gonna owe for 17, I'm stuck. Somebody told me I'm gonna owe so much money for 17 that I'm not even gonna make any money in 18, so the government cannot come after me to garnish my wages. So she's basically like froze, and just because her income taxes were not prepared, and it was more like a complicated situation, it had an effect on her own new business, on her kids' life, on everything. And so when she said, and she made an appointment, rescheduled it twice, and then finally came in, I did not have the heart to say, this is not the time to have 2017 prepared. It's really not. We are like working day and night to finish up. We only have 2018 taxes. We only have these couple of weeks, and really, if you think about it, it's just like so short. Business tax return due date is 2 weeks from today. It's just so short. Like a week ago, we got all the final forms finalized by the IRS and approved. I mean, that's just like 3 weeks, and that is us knowing and expecting all this workload and looking at all the different financial statements and QuickBooks, cleaning them up during the year. So this is not even the first time we see them. So if you have a CPA, just go be really, really kind to them. We're trying to be really kind to the clients. That's why I think the last time I mentioned that we have wine, all kinds, pop, all kinds, medicine. I wanted to say drugs, but yeah, we don't, just legal drugs if they have a headache. Literally, we try to be so kind and accommodating. Appointments late or more, early, but it just, we should be kind to each other regardless, more, maybe even kinder. And I'm teaching my kids about this, when they're kids, like, oh, he was nasty to me. It's like, just try to be kinder. You don't know what's going on in their lives. So if you do have a CPA, just, be really kind to them, the next 6 weeks. And I'm getting these emails of, I signed my tax return 2 days ago, and you told me it's e-filed, which was, and I still didn't get anything in the mail. I didn't get my copies. Now, she does have electronic copies. She doesn't need to do anything with them, and with the mail and everything. It's just, why? Where is it? Where is it? Like, you know what? Just stop asking me. Stop. You are gonna get it. It's in the mail. So it's really not necessary. If it's not necessary, just be kind. A new question. I changed, so this is the lady I was talking about. I changed my W-4 to single zero for federal. So she's asking for us to do 2019 projections. And I mentioned this is something that we do all year long. So she's gonna change her W-4 to single zero. We're gonna check how much more withholding there's gonna be on the paychecks, and then get a recent pay stub. Let's say that's gonna be like March 15th, right? Like 2.5 months. And then we are gonna project out another 8.5 months. So we're gonna project out her W-2 and put it in the tax software, the 2019 projections, to see, is it gonna be enough? Or do we have to still like add an extra dollar amount as a withholding onto the W-4. If somebody says single zero or married but withhold at a higher single rate zero, so that's like a box you can check off on the W-4, which everybody knows W-4 is just this piece of paper where your employer asks you to fill out, and then that's what in the payroll software, according to what you said, you're gonna have higher or lower tax withholdings taken out. So if you say single zero, that's like the highest they can go by the tables, highest withholding. If you still want something extra, there is a nice little line on the bottom saying, I want an extra dollar amount, and $100, $50, like $500 every paycheck. Please take it out. The last thing about the W-4, you do have the right to change your W-4 literally every day. So either, like most companies have it online, you just, you can change it, you can add to them, you can just change it. So, and they just have to do what you tell them. Okay. This was a long email. Okay, new question. So, hi Burbal, I hope you don't mind. You said I could send you questions. I guess I did say that. So I'm working on filling out my tax stuff in TurboTax only to learn that I've screwed up and not filed things on time for my business. I thought I was supposed to file everything as personal since I'm an LLC, but also the only employee. But I didn't send any 1099s out to anybody, like my graphic designer or anybody. Is this going to be a problem? So there are a lot of things going on here. First of all, like, I wish there would be this test that people have to take before, or like this course or webinar before they can have an LLC. A client of ours, and maybe I mentioned this already, is taking a roofing license test down in Florida, and it's like a 1,500-page book that he had to learn. Actually, he took like a week-long class and then some extra, classes to get him ready for the test. And there was a good section about accounting and taxes and all kinds of things in this. So I just thought that was a brilliant idea of all these people who are starting, to be freelancers or contractors, to have this knowledge. So there is like a lot of things going on in this question. For example, so I thought I was supposed to file everything as personal since I'm an LLC. So what she's referring to is that the LLC, if it's a single member, one member, we call the LLC owners members. So one member LLC is a pass-through entity. You don't have a separate tax return. You do have a Schedule C business tax return on your personal. So if I wanted to say page 1 has all the W-2s. Now it's page 2 because everything has changed, right? All the forms, everything is different. So on the top of page 2, all the W-2s are listed, and then there's an extra line saying business income. So if you are the only owner, then you have a Schedule C, which is on the bottom of the stack of papers, but whatever number is on the bottom on the Schedule C, so all the revenues minus all the expenses, the profit flows to the main page of the tax return. So that's what I think what she remembers the filing as personal. I mean, you are self-employed. Doesn't matter if you're an LLC or you don't. If you are just one person in the business, taxation-wise, it's going to be the same thing. So, and also with the only employee. I mean, if it's about if you have a Schedule C, I understand what she's saying. She's the only one working in it, but you're not. You cannot be an employee of a Schedule C yourself. We did see tax returns where somebody started a business, had payroll for other people, and it's just easier for me to send in money to the IRS if I have a W-2 for myself. So all the owners had W-2s for themselves, and then when they came to us a couple of years later, I said, no, technically this is not even legal, but okay. So you cannot, like, just remember, if you have a Schedule C, if you're taxed as a Schedule C, you cannot have a W-2 for yourself. But, so here's like a real question of this email. I didn't send any 1099s out. What I think happened is TurboTax is asking you, because there's a question on the Schedule C that says, were you, what's the term? Were you required to give anybody a 1099? Yes or no? And there's a second question. If you said yes, did you do it or not? So when you sign the tax returns, if you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't send anybody a 1099, you told the IRS. There was a box that you had to check off and signed on it, right? That you said you didn't, and maybe you did have. And what is the requirement if you paid any service contract service people $600 or more a year? Now I'm still wondering if this comes up. Like I'm still like wondering, like people, like we talk about it so much, and I'm pretty sure, you know, other outlets talk about it as well, but it's still, maybe it's still not enough. So you have to, anybody that works for you, let's say that there is a graphic designer, what she said, graphic designer working for me, before I hand her the first check, maybe she says, Borbala, your bill is $1,000. Before I hand her the $1,000 check, I have to say, XYZ, please fill out a W-9 and give it to me. You can Google it. You don't need the form from me. Just Google it, fill it out. So, and I also have to ask for an invoice. So W-9, an invoice, and we should really have a contract. If this is somebody that I'm gonna be working with, or she works for me regularly, we should really have a contract. So these three things, if they're on file, even if you get audited for anything else later, you're covered. So she gives me the W-9. What is the W-9? Basically, she just says, Borbala, this is my name, business name, this is my address, this is my social, or my EIN. Signature. That's it. I, as a owner of the business, review it and say, okay, thank you, here's the $1,000 check. At year end, by January 31st, not March 1st or March 31st, January 31st, before January 31st, it is my responsibility as a business owner to look at all these W-9s and say, look at my accounting and say, who did I pay more than $600 for services last year? So I identify these people, companies, and when I have the list, I look at all the W-9s pertaining to these people and say, okay, who said that they're a corporation and they have a company, even if like there are just so many people are freelance, but they have a corporation. they get paid via PayPal and stuff. I wouldn't even know. And a good number of my clients are like, I didn't know he had a corporation. I mean, you're always just like Catty, so-and-so, right? So if that person is incorporated, has a corporation, that's what they signed under perjury, I do not by law have to give them a 1099. I could. A lot of people do. It's not going to do me, anything bad or not. But by law, I don't. If I don't, it's fine. Anybody who checked off, self-employed, single member LLC, or partnership, by law, I have to give them a 1099 and, of course, send a copy to the IRS. It's not too complicated. It's not too complicated. Now, it is a lot of work, especially in the CPA firm like ours. We would tend to just like, a couple of 1099s, whatever. We can send them out for our clients, and then we end up like Les working on them for a month or 6 weeks. So it could be a lot of work, but that's why it came up. Because this is this friend of ours was filling out her TurboTax. Is a startup company. She doesn't think she can afford a CPA. Now with TurboTax, if you do have city taxes, TurboTax does only do federal and state. So here in Ohio, we do have city taxes. If your business is in a different city than where you reside, we have an office, you have to file net profit tax there. And then you have to file city tax where you live. So you would either, get the forms from the local tax authority's website, or file online with them directly, but TurboTax doesn't do them. And a lot of people end up in trouble because like for 5-6 years, they don't file city. City comes after. I mean, we had a couple of people coming in, even this week one, a couple of weeks ago, another one came in with the subpoena. It says subpoena duces tecum, and it's like, oh my goodness, I have to go to local tax court. I said, okay, we're going to take care of it. But it is scary when you get them. It really looks like a subpoena. They really want to scare you. So, yeah. Now, I talk about this all the time, that when you're looking for a new advisor, like our firm, for example, that's why we call it concierge CPAs. We are not just here to see you once a year, but we are really your advisors. Now, what you should inquire when you see somebody for the first time is not just how much their fees are, but put those against how much they think they can save you. So in our company, our average is twice as much. So we save the clients twice as much dollars than what our fees are. Now, again, that's our average. Now, we are not even counting the peace of mind. A lot of times I tell people, like, I'm just selling peace of mind. Like I mentioned this lady a couple of minutes ago, what is the price of just here, take care of 2017 so I can move forward and I can totally, just flourish in my business and just have, all these new things and new goals, versus I'm blocked and I'm frozen and I won't do anything for 2 years. 2 years is a long time. 2 years is a lot can happen in 2 years. You can make a lot of money. You can just, when it's not even about the money, when you grow a company, they are just phases. They're just phases that you have to go through. If you did have the experience of running, growing, building, running a business for 2 years versus not, it's a lot of experience. That's a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, a lot of contacts, especially if you have kids, and this person had 2 teenagers. That's a long time a big phase in the teenagers' lives. Like, could I provide them with something, or could they help in the business when they were with me, versus I'm frozen for 2 years. So it's really, when you're considering working with somebody who non-judgmental, right? Like that's our motto, like non-judgmental. Everybody comes in just like what they say in church, come in as you are, and let's this is a process, and let's see where we can take you. It is what it is. Everybody has different sins, right? It is what it is. The good thing is you're coming in because you want a change, right? So there's a lot of things to consider when you're looking for an advisor. Now, we did have a client, and he's a W-2. He's funny young guy. What is the doctor with the X-rays? How is it called? Radiologist. So radiologist, and I heard that it's so hard to get in there. That's like one of the hardest departments to get in. So obviously he was like super smart, and he came in, left me all his text information, and came in with a long list and said, my mom has all these questions. So I answered his questions for his mom and everything. And then, I mean, this was before when I started my business, so I was like less knowledgeable too. And I quoted him a fee, and he said, okay, I need to think about it. He went home, thought about it. He called me and said, I think I want to pick up my stuff, and I'm just going to find somebody else. It's like, okay, perfect. So came in, got his stuff. I'm not kidding. 2 weeks later, he gives me a call. Saturday afternoon, I will never forget it. He says, where are you? I said, I'm home. It was one of those Saturday afternoons I was actually home. And I said, I'm home. He says, can I stop by at your house and drop off the tax documents again? I said, what? Like, you want to come to? It's like, yeah, I want to come to your house. So he, in like half an hour, he drove off my driveway. I went out there. Both him and his young wife got out of the car. And he says, here's my stuff. I said, what happened? Like, what happened? And he starts telling me that he found the CPA was like half priced than me, and left his stuff. Everything was good, but then he called him. So my client called him and said, I have a question. Can I have this question? And he was like, the CPA was like, no, it's tax season. Don't waste my time. And put the phone down. Then he called again. And at this point, the wife chimes in. It's like, yeah, like I heard him talk on the phone, and the CPA just kept saying, like, don't waste my time. I said, what did you think? Right? Like, if for such a low price, like the poor guy was just like doing his work. He does that, what you paid him, or what you were supposed to pay him, does not include talking to him, talking for hours. It's not basically the paper. It's not the paper. It's not the software, or like half an hour. It's never half an hour, but a couple of hours is that where you're paying for the advice, to be heard, to mastermind out issues, and it could make a difference. Like a lot of times I have to say, tell me more, tell me more. We have to just kind of like detective mode. You have to get the information out. Like this client of mine, I was actually surprised because she's really like savvy, business savvy, and she said, when she asked her other advisor, like writing advisor, how should I fill this W-9 out, personally or my business? And the advisor said, yeah, I do it personally. And her response was, oh, I would have never thought that it's going to have this decision, it's going to have some tax ramifications. It's like, really? You have to fill out a W-9 that has tax ramifications. And she is like world famous, right? So a lot of times we just have to go back and forth through email. That's why like the email that she sent me, it's like 10-page long, because we're going back and forth and doing stuff. So again, long story short, it is really, you want somebody you can talk to, kind of like your priest when you go to a confessional. You just have to see them. You have to see them a couple of times a year, right? So that's the relationship that you're looking for. Again, especially if you have a business. You have to know your numbers. You have to know what's going on in the financials. You should have something fixed in your financials as soon as you realize the issue, not tax time, and you made the same mistake, over 12 months. So that's, again, that's the relationship that you should be looking for. This client, or actually not a client, it's just a friend of ours. So we mentioned last Wednesday, we spent almost the whole day at the Cleveland Institute of Music. Yeah, it was last Wednesday, and giving like 3 seminars for like graduate students, international students, and just overall the school. So the Cleveland Institute of Music is really famous. Most of the Cleveland Orchestra members, Cleveland Orchestra is like, we in Cleveland, we say the 5th in the world. So it's really famous. So all the musicians teach at this institute, and also like private students, graduate level, but also a lot of the graduates that end up in good orchestras around the world, Cleveland Orchestra around the world. So we were there for a day. I just think this is like maybe year number 5, 6, every couple of years they invite us. So there was this guy who was a up-and-coming piano prodigy who could not make it. So I told him, you can write me your question. So he said, I had to miss your presentation the other day because I had a doctor's appointment. But I do have a question for you, for which nobody else was able to answer. It's like, okay, let's see. I'm organizing a concert for which I'm renting an auditorium. I'm doing this as an individual and not a business or a nonprofit. I'm also an international student. I'm wondering if I'm legally allowed to sell tickets for this event with the goal of covering the costs of the event. If I'm not allowed to, can my friend and schoolmate who is also involved in the project accept the funds in their account? I will be eternally grateful for your help. Thank you in advance and hope you have a wonderful day. So I checked this young guy out, and like, 'cause he had his website on the bottom. It's like, oh my goodness, like he's like so talented, so talented. It's such, you know, very handsome young guy. So the answer is, actually, it depends. The answer is what usually lawyers and CPAs say, it depends. And what I would ask is this a one-time event? Just one concert, that's it? Is it at the campus? Like you have to rent this one hall at the campus? Are the people who are coming and you're selling tickets to, is this offline, just like people from the institute? Or you're selling tickets online, like Eventbrite or PayPal? How big is it? What numbers are we talking about? Is this rent like $100 or $3,000, right? Again, how is this one time where, you know, what's going on? Is it really gonna like just, you're gonna cover the cost of the rent, or like other costs as well? Do you have to pay all these people, like a accompanist or, you know, some other people that do the concert with you, or not? It's just really just to cover the rent. Can you say that this is a donation or not? So all these things we have to find out the answer to before I can answer the question. But I was leaning towards, like, if really this is at the school and just one time, and it's not a high amount, like not more than a couple of $100s, I said that, you know, you can basically, you're getting the tickets as like donation, and they're reimbursements for covering the cost if there are a couple of dozens, maybe 100 people at this event. If something bigger, then let's talk about it. So I do not have like a definitive answer, because I need all these you know, things to find out, you know, before. But I guess it happens a lot. This question comes up a lot. Okay, we have a few minutes left. Answer this question. Answer this question. Okay, this is a fun one, and I just wanted to make a note because it can happen to anybody. There are a lot of freelancers. Actually, I'm invited to talk next week on Wednesday at a local freelancer society. They have these meetings every quarter, and they invited me you know, to talk about taxation and what they, you know, you should get together. So if you are, actually, it's a good note, if you are a member of an association, a professional group, you should really have, like, you should tell or ask the directors of the group, the managers of the group, to ask and find a CPA who can come out here and there, especially like in January is a good time, right before tax season, or maybe December, to get everybody get their stuff together. It's a very popular event. Like every time we go, I mean, this is kind of self-serving, but it's really people have a lot of questions and a lot of confusion. Now we have a new tax law. There are also always new people in these groups that just starting their business or being freelancers, so they have no idea, you know, what they have to do, again, because we don't need to take a test, you know, in order to get the license. So actually, we are going to Cleveland City Hall is organizing an event for potential first-time home buyers tomorrow. So if you're in the Cleveland area, check out the City of Cleveland website. They're doing it in Asia Town and the Emperor's Palace, it's called, and a couple of like PNCs is supporting them, sponsoring it, and they invited to all kinds of professionals to talk to these potential home buyers and get them ready to be able to qualify for a loan. So there's going to be a home inspector, of course the mortgage lenders, CPA, that's going to be us, insurance agent, of course real estate agents, maybe a like SBA type of people, and the city hall people, because I think they have some type of help, or they want to offer some type of help. So if you are actually, it's not even if you're not even in Cleveland, but you're in the same situation, just look for these opportunities. I'm pretty sure they're gonna have somebody like a credit counseling type of firm, because a lot of times that's something that we have to do, and it might take even 2 years to start to get ready for getting a loan or a mortgage, or especially if there was a bankruptcy or something in the past. So look out for these opportunities. We are looking forward to have fun tomorrow. Amy, our staff accountant, is coming with us, and they're expecting like 100 people. So I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of folks there, and just helping out and give back. So why this ties to this last question is, so a friend says, looking at the possibility of doing work for a Canadian company, maybe more than one, but right now it looks like this is the only company. The vast majority of this work would be done remotely from my place in New York, but a small part of work would involve me going to Canada. So it says, I got the following related to doing work in Canada. So how like Canada taxes, something like this, if there's a withholding or not. Just want to check that we are good with Canadian taxes before starting this project. So we had to research this, because we do have Canadian CPA friends that actually we had the opportunity to refer to our clients here to US when they have something going on in Canada. But here, the question is, if this freelancer client of mine has a business, again, should the Canadian contract be under his own name or the business's name? How much is he doing actually in Canada? How the Canadian company fills out the paperwork? So actually it could be a good amount of depends before we can answer this question. So I just wanted to put it out there that if you run into something like this, then just get the answer for it before you start a project. I mean, he sent this to us on February 19th. He's really smart of thinking about it and reaching out to people now. He didn't even start working in Canada versus a year from now, next January, right? So it's a really proactive. I love it, how strategic and proactive he is. And I think Laz already sent him an email saying like, you have to know. You have to talk to them, what paperwork they're asking, if you're going to have some Canadian W-2 or Canadian 1099, maybe. A lot of people have work for all kinds of companies in the world. Now, if you're doing the work, let's say I'm doing the work here from Brecksville, and a Canadian company pays me and sends me money, even let's say transfers the money, wire transfer or PayPal or whatever it is, I don't have nexus to Canada, right? I'm not there. I'm doing the work here in the US. So I don't, most likely, potentially, hopefully, it's not going to be like a Canadian thing. It could, but most likely, I'm fine. But if it's like, this is like a big thing and like a big project, big amounts, it's better to be proactive and find out. But if I have to go there and actually do work there, then that's like a totally different system. Like I went over the border, they know that I was there, so you don't want to get into any trouble with Canada or in like a different country's tax system. So find somebody who works with Canadian CPAs. Like we just had a call a couple of weeks ago where Canadian CPA was on the phone. I was on the phone from here. My client was at home, and we had a 3-way call of masterminding and strategizing about what's going on if they need to do this and that. And the Canadian CPA, just like we are here, very proactive, knew everything what to do regarding foreign nationals. So we know what to do about foreign nationals when they come here to invest. And even just the last couple of weeks, we had a good amount of number of clients who were in that category. The same way, Canadian CPA is gonna know. So then we can put the 2 and 2 together. Now, one thing not to forget is if you pay taxes, income taxes in Canada, you are going to get some foreign tax credits here in the US. It might not be dollar for dollar, but most likely, in most cases, you're not going to be double taxed. Like if you already pay in Canada, the US is going to say, okay, I give you credits for it. So if the Canadian tax rate is 25% and let's say your rate is 20% in the US, most likely you're not going to have to pay taxes again on this amount. So we get this question a lot also. Like I sold something in Europe, like I don't want to bring the money back because then I pay taxes on it there and then I have to pay taxes on it here as well. Like it's, yeah, you just need good advisors and they should just analyze the situation. Most likely you're not going to pay taxes on that income or the net capital gain twice. So with that was the last question. I wish everybody a great weekend. Hopefully the weather is going to cooperate and start to be really nice. Here we still have really cold weather so far, but just keep sending us your questions and just keep plugging along. Even this week I talked to so many people who are like feel the heavy with the burden of running a business, and I feel for them because I'm on it every day. I help them with whatever I can. Now, my last thought was I would be so lost without all the support system that surrounds me, and that I'm trying really hard to show my appreciation and also just to have even a better support system. And it's not just, I'm not just talking about my company and my family who are like the basis of the support system, but also all these different friendships and networks. I think it's just so important to surround yourself with people who understand you, that they know what you're going through because they went through it. And especially if they already went through it and they can reflect on it and give you some help, especially it is very important. So do yourself a favor. If you have a business, if you're thinking about starting a business, just find those opportunities. If you're looking for some suggestions, then just shoot me an email and I can tell you a couple of great organizations where you can become a member, or a couple of books or YouTube channels, people to follow that are instrumental in a lot of my friends' life, in my life, when it comes to just the mindset of being able to be tough and run a business. So financial is one part. Sales and marketing is a huge part, maybe the biggest part of the business, running the operations, and having all these hats, wearing all these hats at the same time every day, 24/7, it's really hard. So if you are in that time frame and mind frame of this is just hard, and I don't know if it's worth it. I've seen, I talked to a lot of people even last week who had all this anxiety. Just surround yourselves with people who can talk to about all these, and also they can share their experiences. So with that, thank you very much for listening. Keep us your questions. We are gonna be back next Friday at 6 o'clock, God willing, and hopefully we're still gonna be not sleeping, but being able to do it. Thank you very much for following us. If you are one of our clients, thank you for supporting us. I fully appreciate that. We have so many, basically hundreds of clients now at this point that support us, and they've been with us tax season after tax season for like 10 years now. So we really appreciate you, and this is just one little way of giving back to our community. So with that, thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.